Who wants a candle? Yeah, you can take that. What are you doing with it?
I'm burning it.
You're manifesting that you pass a midterm.
That is a phenomenal. Good job, whoever that
It's
is.
my daughter. Welcome to the
Throw,
show,
throw a little
Snaggle.
sage in it, and perfect.
How's it going, Mr. Snaggle J?
Good. Hello.
Hello,
Hello.
hello.
Hopefully you
Oh,
can hear me okay.
yeah, I hear you fine. Hold on, let me turn impact off. What button is that? Boom. There it is.
But yes, to answer your question, there were no shenanigans at the end of the match number 7, but it was set up 100% perfectly for them to hit Cult of Personality at the end of the match, and I was like, if they were going to do it, they had it set up, but it just went off the air, and I was very upset. Not upset because it's just, you know how you get those moments in wrestling where it's like it's set up perfect, and you're like you know it's not going to happen, but like the seed was there. Anyway, it just went off the air with the spoiler alert: the Elite as the trios champions.
Do you think Punk will return to AEW?
Yes, I do.
I do too.
I mean, I think, I don't know.
People are dreaming.
It depends. I think it's pro wrestling, so anything is possible. I mean, you know, we said for 6 years that we'd never see him in on a wrestling show ever again, and look at how that turned out. Would I be surprised if he ever showed up in AEW again? Yes. Would I completely rule it out? Absolutely not. Because it's wrestling, and it's CM Punk.
Yep.
This will pass, just like everything else that happens has passed, and I wouldn't rule it out.
See, I think the money is in Punk and FTR versus the Elite. There you go. There's your feud. Do it up. Let's have it. But I just heard, my sources have informed me, FTR is taking a break when their contracts are up.
Yes, that was widely reported. Yes, I think they actually posted it themselves. If I'm not mistaken, there.
So
that they're going to take a well-deserved
deserve
time off and ponder their future, as they put it.
Yeah. So my first question is, when are those contracts up?
When did they come to AEW?
That was what I was going to say.
What is this? This is 2023. I think they came in 2020.
May 27th of 2020. So that gives you your 3 years.
3-year deal.
You know, and that was when they debuted, so you could assume that they may have signed, you know, a week or two before that, right? So that they could set everything up. So you could be looking at the middle of May, maybe even early May.
So there's only just Full Gear then. Is there another pay-per-view before May?
Revolution is the next one, right? Is it?
Is that in March? No.
That's how you know.
That would be.
Can't memorize the paper. We do this every time we talk about AEW pay-per-view. We never remember.
Full Gear was the last one. Revolution is the March one, March 5th. So then I think they usually do one. The next one's around like the Memorial Day weekend, right? The last weekend in May, I think, is the next one they do.
Double or Nothing is in May. Fighter Fest in June. Fight for the Fallen in July. All Out August. Full Gear November.
Why can't they just do this monthly and on a pay service where we can just watch it every month, right? Come on, get with the program here.
Speaking of that, what I really want is the WWE Network back. Now, you're up in Canada. You have the WWE Network.
Sure do, buddy.
Sure do.
Motherfucker. Because I want to watch Sunday Night Heat. That's what I want to watch. And I can't watch Sunday Night Heat.
You might be. I would have to scour the Internet Archive, because that may be the first recorded instance in the last 20 years of somebody saying, I want to watch Sunday Night Heat.
I sure do. Yeah.
Do you remember how hyped the Heats were, though, like before pay-per-views?
Didn't they debut on MTV? Was it Sunday?
They did in the beginning, because I mean, like, this was like your traditional pre-show, right?
Yeah.
But like, you know, it wasn't just like a yes, they did the whole promoting the pay-per-view stuff. But you know, they would have like good matches and like angles and stuff that fed into the pay-per-view.
Oh man, so good. Yes. All right. No, it was originally introduced on the USA Network. I don't know where I'm getting MTV. Sunday Night Heat.
Oh, Sunday Night Heats, man. They were when they were on non-pay-per-view weeks, they were awful. But when they were on pay-per-view weeks, they were fantastic.
I'm assuming they were taped. They probably were never live. Oh.
I'm assuming the pay-per-view ones were probably live.
Yeah, probably. Oh, here we go. Look at
Greetings and salutations, peoples.
That's not the right camera. That's the right camera. Greetings and salutations. Welcome, sir. You know, Vanessa, I don't know how I feel about the black and white. I do like it. We'll see.
I do have very NWO-like characteristics.
You know, very heelish.
I will very, very quickly cut a heel turn here if humanly possible.
Well, this is what I realized. This is what I realized is that I don't use my camera at night, so that's why I look very, very white on it right now.
I usually look very, very white because I'm very pale.
Yes, exactly. How are we all doing tonight?
Spectacular. I think we got a whole new show. 3 pale guys talk wrestling. Pale. Wait, how can we? Indie.
3. You could call yourselves 3 former Europeans.
3 former Europeans.
Sunday night white heat.
We need to. Speaking of European, we need to bring back the European title.
Oh, please do, man. What a. That's exactly. We just got rid of the 24/7 title. Do we really need to immediately go and bring the European title back?
Listen, if things happen the way we think they might,
there will be a European
title at the Middle Eastern title. By the way, I want to say hi. I do want to send a call out to my brother, who I was talking to before this, and the last thing he said to me before I logged on was, "Please don't get canceled." I don't know how I'm doing so far.
Well, I mean, we all know I'm the liability for getting us canceled. I might say something bad about Bray Wyatt like I did on this week's episode of the podcast. Dude. I still don't think Chris has forgiven me for.
Did it go over? Didn't it go over well?
It did not go over.
I never really got a chance to respond because
that's the classic
right
heel move. Exactly. Right? I knew the time was running out. The heel move is you get the dig in there, you get the last word, bing, bang, boom, you're done. Now he has to sit for a whole week and think about it.
Okay, so hold on, let me see. So that's Ringside Rewind, your guys' podcast. We'll touch on it probably throughout the entire show. So on the last episode, you, Mr. Snaggle, yourself, very heel fashion, slimy, dropped the remark on Bray, backed out of the ring. What was said remark?
I was just saying I was kind of getting bored of the whole Bray Wyatt LA Knight thing. I wanted to advance a little. I feel like it's moving too slow. And I made a comment to that effect. And luckily, and I mean, you know, I
this is the microwave generation.
That's exactly it. You know, I got a few years on Mr. Snaggle over there. And I remember when it was Superstars tapings. 3 weeks of Superstars, and then the only thing that happened there was 4 pay-per-views per year, and you had to wait to see Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant fight off on NBC if you were lucky enough to get it. And we didn't have access to pay-per-view up here at that point, so we had to wait for the Coliseum home video.
Which was like a month after the pay-per-view, at least.
3?
What, longer?
I would say, yeah, it was probably close. Back in the day, like WrestleMania 3 and that, it was probably closer to 6 months. Was the turnaround time?
I think even in the early 90s, they were still usually 2 to 3 months. 2 to 3 months later in those days, right? You'd usually get it to come out. They'd usually be hyping it as part of the next pay-per-view. So like when they would start their road to SummerSlam advertising, it would also be tied into, hey, and now you can get WrestleMania on Coliseum home video. Right?
I do think I will also tend to agree, and I'm not the microwave generation, Vanessa. I think this LA Knight. I think my issue is it's not the feud I guess I want with Bray coming back, and we've already seen him get physical. I don't want to see him get physical yet.
Yeah.
No, that's true, and it's going to be something. They always seem to play the long game with Bray, and I'm a big fan of that. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. I hope there's not a lot of changes in creative, because that kind of may be where things get messed up, where we know somebody like Vince comes in and
turn the lights
stuff around, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the Bollywood boys can.
I think it's interesting too, right? Because, you know, we got to get our, you know, the Mountain Dew Pitch Black match sponsored by Mountain Dew exclusively at the Royal Rumble.
Yep.
And you know, it's just, I'm in a weird place with this whole thing, because Bray came back to all this hype, and there was a lot of questions. Or like, was he ready? You know, what sort of role was he going to be taking on? We know from the reports, right? He started wrestling. He had a match at a house show. I think it was this past weekend, right? And you know, so he's starting to work in that physicality. And then you got all the stuff that's going on. You know, I mean, he wasn't even on SmackDown this past week. In the build to Royal Rumble, you have this whole weird thing. What's going on with Alexa, right? Which seems to be a very polarizing part of the story, because people are like, "Great, are we just going back to the whole Alexa is part of the Bray sphere thing again?" And I don't know. I kind of agree too, right? Was LA Knight the right choice for his kind of comeback? Because, you know, LA Knight, fresh off getting rid of the whole maximum male models idiocy and getting back to the character that worked for him in NXT, time will tell.
But is Bray Wyatt there to humble him, because he has such a big ego?
I mean, if you need somebody to humble somebody, bring the Iron Sheik in. Iron Sheik will humble everybody.
I don't think Bray's came back as the leader of this. I think Uncle Howdy is going to be more the leader of this version of the Wyatt family, and Bray will start out as more of a subordinate to him, and that's where we end up to the Wyatt 6.
Okay, so yeah, it's a great question. In the chat, the Fiend Cosplay 2023 is saying we all got to be patient. Everything will make sense soon. Get ready for the Wyatt 6. Going off what you just said, so Wyatt 6, everybody got pumped when it first got being talked about. I started thinking maybe Uncle Howdy or Uncle Harper were just manifestations of Bray, and we wouldn't actually get different wrestlers as them. I don't know where I stand now.
I think we're going to get different wrestlers. Okay. I think the guys that used to be in ROH, Vincent and Dutch, they're going to be coming in as members of this Wyatt 6. I personally think it's Bo under the mask right now. So you have the two of them, you have Alexa, and you have Bray with Uncle Howdy as the kind of the leader, and then we can work on Bray getting back his confidence.
I'm
to
doing
take
the same thing. Counting as well. Did we get to 6 yet?
No, we didn't get. I don't think we got to 6, but we don't know. Like, the Fiend could be 6.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think you might see. I don't think we're going to see 6 unique individuals. I think we may see 6 characters. I do think you might still see sort of this, as this goes on, the Fiend sort of rears ugly head as this sort of alternate Bray thing. I think, again, I'm not writing it off. I just think, there's been basically no progression in the last few weeks, and I know we've got the whole Uncle Howdy,
breathe,
right? But when you have,
it will be there.
Yes, but when you have 5 hours of television a week, you have to, again, we're getting to the Rumble, so we're going to see what happens. I think after the Rumble, it's going to be sort of, I don't want to say full speed ahead, but I think we're going to get some developments. And I think, again, I do it more so just to poke at Chris, because his love of Bray Wyatt is never dying, and I know that all I have to do is mention his name in any sort of vein, and it's like poking the bear, which is again heel tactics.
It's guaranteed 45 minutes. On
Listen, I am anything capable of cheap heat. It's all about the cheap heat, man.
He'll ask me about Bray Wyatt or New Japan Wrestling, and then he'll just take his headset off, and he'll be back in 45.
What is that? New what wrestling?
Japan.
Is that a country?
No. Well, Japan is, and this is the newer one.
This is
yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
Speaking of Wrestle Kingdom, how did Chris, one half of Ringside Rewind, which you can find in every place I go to listen to podcasts, and I go to a lot of different places, I find you guys, so you're everywhere.
And we're the one that's not two British guys talking about soccer.
Boxing.
Sorry. If they're from England, I assume they're talking soccer.
No.
It's a good question. Would I rather listen to Canadians talk or English or British? English?
Ooh,
that's a good one. It's tough.
That's a tough question.
Considering your producer is Canadian, you may have to lean towards. Like I don't want like next week you guys have this weird dynamic because you had 3 Canadians involved with the show this week and decide I think I prefer British people.
Who did we just have on, Vanessa, that said Canadians are so patient and what did they say? I don't remember now.
I am Snaggle, not necessarily. He doesn't necessarily fit the trademark of patient Canadian.
Are you saying I'm not a trademark Canadian? Because that's fair.
Yeah, no, listen, there's only a few of those things in that beer commercial that you are.
It looks like a northern Canadian, like a lumberjack Canadian.
We're both East Coast Canadians, right? So
you're East Coast.
Yes.
We literally we live in the same city, like 10 minutes away from each other in New Brunswick. So
you're Maritimers.
Yeah,
you're in New Brunswick, like that French New Brunswick.
We're kind of in the middle. We're kind of in the middle of Anglophone and Francophone New Brunswick, so we kind of have it on both sides.
Oh, I feel sorry.
And big storm coming. So we're we got the storm chips, and we're battening down the hatches. And
the storm literally misses us. I'm at the mouth of Lake Huron in Ontario.
Oh, I have a friend of mine that just lives, not to take the podcast completely out the window, but I have a friend of mine now.
He has no idea.
I'll be back. Bray Wyatt sucks. I'll be back.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to get another beer.
To answer your question about Wrestle Kingdom, it was a great show. The main event fell flat to me because what was going to come at whatever was in that spot after Ospreay and Omega was just going to fall flat. But you had to put that World Heavyweight Championship match there. Because, as I said in this week's edition of Ringside Rewind, it's the Inoki Memorial Show. So you have to have Okada at the end doing the Inoki chant. That's got to be the closing shot at the Tokyo Dome.
What was your thoughts on Sasha Banks?
Who?
I wish that would be a Mercedes
Monet, Manet, Tippy Tippy Day Day.
Yes, exactly. It was weird because she cut a WWE promo on a crowd that's not used to that. Her finisher got messed up when Kyrie went to her knees instead of using it as a DDT. It kind of felt flat all the way around, but I think it was going to in front of that crowd anyway. But I don't think it matters because she's there for
US.
She's there for the US. She's there for whatever's coming up after New Japan Strong, because the past taping schedule for New Japan Strong, their US show, it's going away. So it's not happening anymore, which has led to rumors of Tony Khan talking about there being New Japan involvement in the ROH TV show that's going to be coming to Honor Club in the next couple of months.
Or just everything Mercedes Moné does falls flat anyway.
Oh,
well, I was going to say when you said fall flat, I basically it was a typical Sasha Banks segment.
See, these people
listen.
gets me.
It's just if you look at all of the women's revolution big names from that time period, I would have to say Sasha Banks is probably the most disappointing. She would be in competition with Paige, and Paige has some pretty extenuating circumstances in there. That my thing is with Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, just her as a performer, I don't get the hype. There's something about her character that I find basically impossible to connect with. I don't know if it's her nonchalant, fake attitude that she always used as the boss character. Like her as the boss, it was never believable. You never got the sense that she actually believed she was the boss as opposed to just playing a character, right? So, I mean, yes, like Chris said, right? The finisher thing, that's not her fault. There was the clip that came out of her doing it in training or whatever. That made it very clear that was not her fault. But I have never been a huge fan of anything that she's done.
So question for the group then, if we can, and I'll go first.
Okay.
If I wanted to list the 4 horsewomen, how would you list them 1 through 4? 1 being the top down.
All right.
I could easily do it.
I'm Becky first. Charlotte second. Bayley third, and then Sasha.
It depends what you're rating them on, I guess.
It's a hot thing. Let's go. Tier list. Let's go. It's hot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, again, depending on what your criteria is, Charlotte and Becky are 1, 2, depending on, again, if you're looking at as a character, if you're looking at impact on the business, I think you could flip-flop Becky and Charlotte 1 and 2, depending. Bayley is a hard 3, and Sasha is a long, distant 4. But yeah, the top 2, again, I think it depends on the situation. Depending on Becky, the whole man character was awesome.
Garbage.
I think in the early going, I think it was great.
I agree. The initial stages.
I think it wore out its welcome really damn fast. But in the initial part, and her taking the broken nose from Nia Jax, I think it was, or was it Shayna? I don't remember now. But
no, it was Nia Jax, because I was going to say it was the greatest thing. Nia Jax
anytime anybody ever got hurt was Nia Jax usually. But I think that couple of months of Becky Lynch in the lead up to that WrestleMania was one of the greatest women's angles we've seen in a very long time. And then it completely wore out its welcome with the whole Becky 2 belts foolishness that just drug on forever. So I think Becky and Charlotte are interchangeable on top, but Bayley and Sasha are definitely 3 and 4, no question.
Vanessa, I'll go last. You can go.
Oh, so I'm Charlotte, Bayley are tied 1 and 2, and Becky, Sasha can go to hell.
Oh, geez. Wow. That's rough.
Hot fire in Ontario.
She does not. She's not.
I do hope. I still have really high hopes for Bayley. I think, there's been some unfortunate stuff there. She's had some injuries. I think, she's probably coming to the end of this run as part of her little damage control thing. I think if she's going to have to break off on her own again at some point and sort of jump back into that top tier amongst the women's ranks at WWE. So I think when we're all said and done and all 4 of these women have retired, I think you're going to be able to make a really compelling case for 3 of them to be in the number 1 spot. And Sasha will forever be the 4th member that never lived up to potential.
I will go with Charlotte as number 1. Head and shoulders above the other 3. Bayley at 2. Becky at 3. and Sasha at a 4, but I will hold off to see what comes. I will be patient and see what happens here with this New Japan US stuff.
Okay, but with New Japan, we're just talking WWE. Can you count Mercedes in New Japan for what the 4 horsewomen are?
The 4 horsewomen are universal. Everywhere. Wherever.
I don't think she's there's I really don't think Mercedes is capable of elevating herself out of that 4th spot. I think, again, we're not insiders of pro wrestling. We can pretend that we are, but we observe and ingest what we see and we talk about it. From the outside, it would appear that she has perhaps as attitude issues. She did walk out on her company because she was disappointed with how the creative was going. She wasn't twice, right?
Well, Stone Cold did the same thing.
Right. And Stone Cold came back with his tail between his legs and said, you know what? I need to be here for the company and I need to be here for me.
He came back humble.
Exactly.
Well, he said that's the worst mistake he ever made.
Yeah, that's true. Sasha went to a different company's biggest show of the year and, tried to make a big splash that fell on her face. I think we have enough history.
He makes a point
of her that I think you really start asking yourself that question: is she ever going to live up to the hype? And even like I said, is she ever going? Like, obviously, I don't think she's even capable at this point of catching up to Charlotte Flair.
No, I don't know.
Ever.
No,
I think if Charlotte retired tomorrow, I think she would always be ahead of Sasha, even if Sasha wrestled for another 15 years.
I honestly feel at this point the only person who is coming up, and I gauge a lot of women's wrestling off my kids, is Bianca Belair.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't love Bianca, but my girls do.
No.
And if Bianca keeps going on the trajectory she's going, she could rival Charlotte Flair.
I think the problem that we see a lot, and again, I don't want it to be like it's not a gender thing,
right?
But like Bianca's a great example. People have been calling for Bianca to have a bit of a character change for quite some time now, right?
Well, she's a natural heel, I think.
Yeah, I think the best way I can compare it is for the greater part of 2022. Bianca Belair sort of got that face John Cena treatment, where it's like point. She's the face of the women's division. She could do no wrong. She's our superhero. And, for a while there, because of injuries and people being out, she did have to carry that division. So you weren't really in a position to turn Bianca Belair heel at any point because, well, you didn't have another face for her to go against. So I do think you're going to see a Bianca Belair character tweak at some point because I think it's needed. But like the women's division right now is extremely, extremely compelling because now you have most of their key players are back and healthy. You sort of started to see them wanting to break Shayna out a little bit again and see kind of maybe what she can do. And then you kind of hitched her to Ronda. Now Ronda's probably going to go away for hopefully forever. But I do think it's going to be a very interesting year because I do think you have the women's division back and firing on all cylinders with all of their key players for the most part healthy. Rumor has it Naomi's going to be back soon. So, that gives you another sort of upper mid-card, female who's able to go out there and have a pretty good wrestling match and eat some slots and put some people over if needed. So I think it's going to be really, really interesting. But I think a lot of that depends on what their plan is with Bianca, because I think that's sort of like your breaking point right now. You decide what you're going to do with Bianca, and then everything else kind of falls into place from there.
I think eventually Bianca will be matched up with the Street Profits completely, and they will be a heel team.
Ooh.
Where, yeah. And then the two of them.
Would they face first, though, to go against Judgment Day?
I think you could probably do a face run for a little bit, but they're going to turn. I think you put the three of them together, and then the married couple will turn on the names. I'm forgetting the names.
Angelo Dawkins.
Angelo Dawkins.
Yeah, Angelo. They'll turn on Dawkins, and then move on until they will be the next power couple.
Yeah. I think you could see a situation where sort of Edge returns, and then you have Edge, Bianca, and the Street Profits against the Judgment Day at, what's coming up in February? I know, is it still Elimination Chamber, or have they changed it to something
There's
else?
nothing in February this year.
Stop it.
I thought Elimination Chamber was in Montreal.
I thought they were going directly from the Rumble to WrestleMania.
There's probably
I could be. Oh no, you're right. It is in Montreal.
Events.
It's going to be the
February
Elimination Super Show.
Maybe it's March, but I know Elimination Chamber is in Montreal in February or March.
It is February 18th.
Okay, I will take my. I was wrong.
So I could see a situation because and again, right? There is, we're getting into WrestleMania season, so obviously Edge is going to come back soon.
But I think to be back at the Rumble, though.
Well, and I think that's the thing because you do have the sort of Edge Judgment Day storyline that has yet to be completed. But I don't think you need Bianca in that, because I think if you're going to fill the woman's spot there, it's going to be filled by Beth Phoenix.
Yes.
So realistically, I think your 4-on-4 matches, Edge and Beth Phoenix, and if they use the Street Profits against the Judgment Day, sure.
I mean, you got.
I think the dissolution of the Judgment Day is coming relatively soon.
You got to worry about the Judgment Day because Dom could go back into prison at any moment. They could.
He needs more teardrops.
More teardrops, man.
I think that's the best character going right now. What do you think of that?
Oh yes.
Oh man.
For sure. He knows what Martha Stewart went through.
It's funny though, right, how you have.
She's a G now. Come on.
Yeah, these little things that just unlock something.
Dom G.
Right. Dominic Mysterio is in this situation where you want to hate him because he comes off as so dumb as a chicken shit heel, right?
Yeah, he's got that Seth Rollins chicken shit heel, old school stuff.
Yeah, but it's a perfect situation for him. I think when we finally get to the whole Ray Dominic blow-off match, I think it's going to be an absolute banger.
Yeah.
I hope they do it as a 2 out of 3 falls, or an Iron Man match, or some sort of big a cage match, Hell in a Cell. I don't care. I think it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. I love what they have done with Dominic Mysterio over the last 6 months. The whole dynamic with him and Rhea is, I know people are saying, oh, what a waste it is for Rhea and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, they're absolute magic. As soon as they come on the screen, the crowd just viscerally reacts to it.
Well, isn't it terrible that they made her the new China?
I mean,
terrible or phenomenal?
Yeah, I would tend to say that again, right? What else would you be doing with Rhea otherwise?
Yeah,
she was kind of floundering as a singles and didn't really have a place. And again, she was sort of going down that complacent. Okay, she's different, but she's not different road.
Right.
But like I said, now every time the Judgment Day is on the screen, it's a great segment. The Dom and Rhea stuff is hilarious from the standpoint of I can't believe they're this brutal. The whole I'm your mommy, it's the callbacks and it's wicked to watch.
Yeah,
exactly. And when I said terrible, I was being sarcastic.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I heard
it was. Yeah, was. It's wonderful what they're doing with her. She's one of the bright spots on that Raw show.
Yeah, that's 6 hours long.
Yeah, I hope Saudi cuts that down to at least 2.5.
I mean, what the shows in Riyadh are 6.5 hours long, so we know they can sit through a marathon. I'm just wondering how soon before Goldberg's going to win the Rumble. We know that, right? Goldberg's coming back at number 30, winning the Rumble.
How come everyone assumes that because potentially Saudi is looking at purchasing the WWE, that all of a sudden they're going to have full say on what everything's being done. And all the shows are going to be in Saudi. They have a share in UFC, a big share.
They have a share in a lot of things.
I know they do.
I learned today on. I was listening.
Don't
to
own
the
your Apple phone. Throw them out.
Yeah, on the Dan Levitard show, they apparently own like a very large percentage of Disney.
Yeah,
which I didn't realize.
They own 6% of Nintendo. They own shares in half a dozen video game companies, including EA Sports.
No.
I think the thing that
Uber.
Yep. You know, there's been a lot of really dumb jokes made.
Yeah.
You know, like you know, and I've retweeted some of the funnier ones. Like, for example, I just went back on the WWE Network and Sergeant Slaughter won at WrestleMania 7. You know, like stuff like that, which is absolutely just bludgeoningly hilarious.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is that what you have to look at with the Saudi Public Investment Fund, it's in the name.
Right.
They are an investment
Yep.
group. They have no interest in owning or managing anything. They want to invest. They invested in all these video game companies because they believe that video game
Well, they're
sales
smart.
and video game corporations are on the rise.
Yeah.
They own 6% of Nintendo because, listen, we know there's going to be new Switch hardware coming up in the next couple years, which
Yep.
means jump in the stock price, which means a bunch of money for them. The Live Golf Tour,
Yep.
yes, they are the primary backers of that, but they have zero input in managing it. They have a whole team of people that run it, and they just sit back and say, do you need more money, and how much money did we make? So if it ever did come to pass, I think the only real giant thing that people are sort of talking about that is somewhat true is how vilified the WWE would become, because we see what happens with Live Golf.
Yeah.
Every time you see Live Golf referenced on American or Canadian television, they are not referenced as Live Golf. They are referenced as the Saudi Golf Tour.
Yeah.
When not a single member of the tour or the management group actually resides in or is Saudi Arabian. It's just that's where the money's coming from. If
They
WWE
call the UFC that?
probably not, because they own a very small percentage of UFC, isn't it? Or I don't know what their current.
It's
Pretty
slowly
decent
rising.
through Endeavor, I think, right? Like it's
I think if you know,
Saudi
here's the-
wants to be the hub for
Yeah.
combat sports.
and entertainment, right? Because again, with the
Video
Disney, with the
games,
video gaming stuff, they see these things, you know, entertainment content, gaming, fighting, wrestling. They just look at it as all content right now is profitable and can make them money.
And they're
If,
investing smartly.
if WWE ends up being bought by the Saudi Public Investment Fund, I don't think any of the ridiculously ludicrous things that people are saying online would come to pass.
All right.
I think a lot of people jumped to
Really?
when the news come out. It just just to say, like, oh my God, this is going to happen, and when it does, everything's going to go crazy. Well, when you really sit back and think about it, because I'll admit, I kind of went, "Holy crap, what does this mean?" But when you sit back and think about it, they're really just the next money mark coming into the wrestling business.
We have all, at one point or another, reported on and tweeted about, recorded podcasts, spoken about things that WWE has done.
Yeah.
And anything, and you know what? I tweeted something to this effect this morning, right? As a business person, you want people to believe that the Saudis are interested. And you want them to be interested because at the very, very least, they drive up the price for everybody else. Because you know they have the most money, and they're willing to spend the most money. Whether that ends up being the end result, or whether it ends up being bought by Disney, whether it ends up being bought by Disco Inferno, I mean, I'd be all for the Glenn Gilberti Wrestling Federation. But
Listen, there's not many things I agree with Jim Cornette about. But one of the things I do agree with is that if Disco Inferno ever gets within 40 feet of a booking job anywhere in professional wrestling, there should be a red dot on his forehead immediately.
Wow.
That's strong words.
He wanted to have the architect Bill Ding.
I guess. But yeah, I think it's one of those things just where right?
good.
You know,
Took me a
they
second.
want everybody to be involved. They, you know,
Well,
because
it's like sports agents. I was saying it earlier. Yeah.
you play them off each other.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, a deal will get done or it won't get done, but I think it's 95% more likely at some point the company will be sold.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the winners of it are going to be the people who hold shares in WWE. A share price that is up 25% since the announcement last week that Vince McMahon is back. Again, everything Vince McMahon has done, for the most part, has been a financially calculated decision. I would not fathom to think why people would anticipate that this is any different. It's about the money, baby. It's and getting as much of it as he can for himself and for anybody else who is still holding shares in that company.
It's all about the money. Does that mean Shane McMahon's coming back?
I hope so.
I already said that. I said Shane should he's
so.
announcing the Saudi to tank the stock, but the stock didn't tank. So.
Saudi buys it, and then Shane shows up behind, walks out in front.
It says McMahon on the contract.
That is the money. We watched that not too long ago on here. It was great. We talked about your podcast a couple times. Ringside Rewind, everywhere you can find it. Let me see. Let me look at the Twitch stream. Snaggle J is up here. No, down here. Whatever. You can see it. Snaggle is the balding one. And
thank you.
And Mr. Chris Doyle is his co-host. His co-host.
Wait, are they in the same room?
No.
I'll let
no.
I'll let you two fight over it, but why don't you describe for the viewers here tonight, and then when we push it out, what Ringside Rewind is, what we can expect, and all that fun jazz.
Well, Ringside Rewind at its heart is looking at historic pay-per-views, matches, and news items in professional wrestling, going back to the Federation years, starting about WrestleMania 1. We choose a actual pay-per-view, go over everything that led up to that pay-per-view, detailed what happened on that pay-per-view and what happened afterwards. That's the main Ringside Rewind show. We also do a news podcast on the weekends called The Rebound. It's about 5 minutes in length, and it's when I go in and kind of just go over some of the latest news and notes of what's happened leading up to SmackDown, and as we go in through the weekend. So you can check all that out. We are at ringsiderewind.com and at Ringside Rewind on most, if not all, social networks.
Yeah.
I got one more wrestling topic. I'm gonna throw it, guys, and then I'm gonna let you guys go. But I do feel like we could talk all night. Like we could. I mean, we haven't even talked about like all the doinks and dinks and Jerry Lawler's. We haven't even gone. We haven't even rewound. Yeah, we can do that.
No, that's right.
But what I want to ask you is this bloodline, the storyline, this bloodline saga. Have they booked themselves into a corner? And what I mean is like, who's gonna beat Roman? Everyone wants The Rock and Roman, but The Rock, if the title's on the line, it's a useless match to me. I don't know where they're gonna go. Somebody says Cody's winning the Rumble, and then you're gonna have the Rhodes family versus the Anna
Weiss.
Thank you very much, family. But to be honest with you, who's actually in the Rhodes family besides Dusty, rest in peace, Cody, Dustin, and who? Brandy? That's it, right?
Yeah, Brandy's gonna come out and ask if it's open mic.
So have they booked themselves in a corner, and why is Sammy actually going to beat Roman?
I actually think they had previously booked themselves into a corner, and Sami Zayn has pulled them out of that corner. I think
agree.
Because again, right, you have to like these Rock Roman rumors have been flying for the better part of 2 years.
Yeah.
They all through COVID, essentially, the rumors was The Rock's going to come back. And, when the bloodline really started to take shape and Roman unified the titles and the whole head of the table thing started, I think at that point, right, the immediate rumors were, well, the only person who could dethrone him is the actual head of the table, and that's Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Yeah. And I think the whole Sammy element has actually given them additional outs of this.
Yeah.
Obviously, Cody gave them an out right away because I think originally the plan was probably going to be Cody was going to do his trilogy with Seth, and then was probably going to move on to do something for one of the heavyweight titles. That seemed like the rocket ship that he was on from his return. Injury happens. The immediate second he got injured, it was reported on every reputable news site that he's injured, he's coming back at the Rumble, and he's going to Mania, and he's going to wrestle for the title. But yeah, I think the whole Sammy, Kevin Owens being introduced into the bloodline story has given them more outs than they had 6 months ago. Because now you have not saying that they would, but you have a situation where Sami Zayn could be your Kofi Kingston.
Yeah, I agree. I'm leaning that towards moment. That. Yeah, I agree.
That would be. I'm just going to sidebar. Do they need an out?
No.
He's got to lose eventually. Where are we?
Does he?
2.5 years into this?
Yeah. I don't think he does. Just let him ride it out. He's cheered. He's booed in the same segment. As soon as he comes out, he's cheered. Then he gets booed. Then he asks the people to acknowledge him, and he's cheered. And then right away, he's booed. He has the people in the palm of his hand.
But he doesn't need the title anymore for that. He doesn't need that title.
Yeah. Especially since he's going to be a part-time guy.
Who else is going to be the face of the company?
You mean
the face of the company right now is the initials WWE?
Well, I would not be surprised if Roman Reigns was still the champion a year from now. The undisputed.
I wouldn't either.
I don't think it's going to happen because I do think they have enough booking options on the table. I think eventually, Roman's already working somewhat part-time schedule.
Yeah.
Do I think it's very likely that he's going to lose a belt? Absolutely. I do think you need a WWE champion on Raw every week, especially if Roman is going to be a once to twice a month. Obviously he's on every week right now because it's the Rumble build, but when we get into the summer and we get into the fall especially, he's going to be on TV once a week or once a month. So I do think, but if we were sitting here a year from now and Roman was still the Universal Champion or the SmackDown Champion or whatever the heck they end up calling it, I wouldn't be surprised, not even in the least.
I don't think he's going to hold it that long simply because part of the reason is we're right. He doesn't need that to be acknowledged. It would help if they would get it off of him before WrestleMania and then did a Rock match.
See, that's what I want. That's what I want.
Where Rock puts him over and then he can be acknowledged in an actual face run as the new People's Champion or the People's Champion.
Viewer in the chat, B-Dave 1993 says, I feel like Cody will win it off of Roman at WrestleMania. And that's okay. So here's the question: when do you split those titles, though? Are they going to split the titles?
Cody's not going to win it until the last year of his contract with WWE. He's in a 3-year deal. We know they signed 3-year deals, and he said that he is going to win before his contract is up. He said he's retiring when he's 40. That is 5 years from now, because I think he's the same age as myself. So before his deal is up in this contract, he will win it, but it'll be in that very last year. And he returned at the Rumble, right? Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
So
next
it's been
Rumble,
announced. He is returning.
No, he returned. He returned
at Mania. That's right.
Mania,
he was Rollins' surprise.
Oh, right.
I thought it was.
So he will, on his last third Mania, he will win the title, and then he'll sign 2 more years, and then he will retire into the sunset.
Wow.
I think, it's kind of funny, right? Because 6, 8, 10 months ago, people were talking about how stale WWE was, how stale the booking was, how, and then the whole Triple H took over creative and brought all these people back, and all these moves are made, and everything's wonderful. We're sitting here, 2 weeks out from the Rumble, 2 weeks and a bit from the Rumble, talking about all these possibilities of who could be champions coming out of WrestleMania. We could have Roman still with both. You could have one on Roman, one on Cody. You could have one on Sammy. You could have one on Dwayne Johnson, for crying out loud. Like, I think it's great to spitball. The whole idea of you don't need a title on Roman to make the bloodline relevant, I don't think that's true. I think part of what has elevated the bloodline.
I agree with that. The bloodline itself needs them. Yes.
Like, you had that week and a half where Solo had a belt as the North American champion.
Yeah, that was stupid.
I think what you are going to see when we do see the sort of dissolution of the bloodline at some point is that the Usos and Roman Reigns are going to take a very, very long break. And a very, very well-deserved break, completely off of TV, for a period of months.
Solo takes the other 3 out?
Maybe.
I don't see the bloodline turning on each other.
No, I mean, Solo would be the one maybe to do it, because he does seem like the wild card in all of it.
Well, he's the young buck too, right? Like,
and
he's the one that needs to make his bones.
Yeah, and I think it's sort of the whole, listen, if Dwayne comes back and humbles Roman, or at least even if Roman wins and, The Rock is able to show like chinks in the armor, so to speak, and that there's, it could just be the whole Solo's jumping off the sinking ship. But I do think, again, regardless of what happens between now and, say, SummerSlam, I do think that there is going to come a point where the bloodline will be finished, and you will not see Roman or the Usos for quite a while. Because again, for better or for worse, they've sort of carried the company, especially the last year. But for the last 3 years, they've been a key fixture through COVID, and I do think it's going to come to a point where we have to go in a different direction. But the bloodline is still the hottest thing on WWE programming. So, like, you go to when the well's running good, man, you go to it as much as you can. Enjoy it while it's there.
If it's not broke, don't.
I think my husband said it, and I think streamers said it too when we've talked. Is Sammy, like, somehow Sammy's gonna get screwed over, and Sammy's gonna be the one to get the Rock. And I know, like, my husband said that, and I think streamers said it too in chats, where Sammy's going to be the one that, if they're going to bring in the Rock, it's going to be Sammy, like, knocking on his door and being like, "Hey."
Goes right to I'll end this topic with Solo said on this show he's not about that family drama. So I think he did say that, and I think he would turn. I think he would. He is the young buck. So
2023 is going to be wild, man. I don't think WWE has started a year with a stronger Rolodex of potential creative options.
I agree
in a long time. I mean, we never mentioned Seth, Austin Theory, or half a dozen other guys who, Drew, Sheamus, all these guys that are sitting on the upper mid card. I'm hearing all these rumors of Gunther and Brock Lesnar colliding at some point.
I hope so. I hope so.
Like, you know what I mean? Like honestly, if you really sat and thought about it, has WWE ever been in a better position at the beginning of a year than they are right now? And I mean, again, Randy Orton's still to come back.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Potentially, right?
Hopefully.
Allegedly. But, like, it's just, I think it's going to be a unreal, because the great part about what all these things we're talking about.
Wild cards available too? Like, are there any free agents out there?
There's going to be people again. You're going to start to see AEW contracts come up.
Yep.
Of guys they could bring in. Heck, they might bring Punk back.
Oh, please no.
I think the best part is that normally when we have these discussions, there's sort of a really good result and a really bad result.
Yeah.
But like you're looking at the dissolution of the bloodline, and we talked about half a dozen possibilities, and all of them are compelling stories.
Yes.
That's the cool part about it, is that WWE has all these options, and they're all good creative options, as opposed to, well, they could do this, which is cool, or they could do this, which will piss everybody off.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I don't think we live in a world where we're gonna be seeing Goldberg wrestle for the Universal title like we were, 2 years ago, 3 years ago,
when he beat the Fiend, Bray Wyatt in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah,
that was a bot show by Saudi. It kind of had to happen.
Yeah,
not WWE's call.
So you're saying if they buy it now, LA Knight's beating Bray?
Yes.
Yeah, he's going to bury him in Mountain Dew pitch black.
Goldberg wins Money in the Bank and cashes in.
There's no way.
It's just in Saudi.
Everybody.
It's just in Saudi when they're presenting it to their people. It's just like, we're going to play the hits.
Yep.
Here it is.
Goldberg.
And we've gone through this entire segment, and we really haven't talked about AEW.
No.
The one thing I will disagree with Snaggle on is that's right. I'm going to disagree with you.
Yeah. Shocker.
Yeah.
They need to sell some fucking moves is what they need to do.
Oh.
Man, Dynamite last night was pretty good, eh?
Yeah, it was. But what I want to say is, I don't think
headshots to get straight up from. Good job.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to worry about guys from AEW going back to WWE. If they've already been there, you may see some guys who haven't been there go. But I think this Vince coming back, even if he has nothing to do with creative, just the PTSD that they have with dealing with him.
Yeah.
You're telling me Rusev wouldn't want to go back?
I think he said he wouldn't go back, didn't he?
Yeah. What is he doing in AEW right now?
Nothing.
Making
when
money.
Was last time he was on TV? Well, he's getting paid. He had to sit home.
Yeah, and doesn't
he
want
got paid
to
in WWE to do the same thing.
That's
right.
True. That's a good point.
I think Chris, I'm going to make you eat those words on Ringside Rewind when FTR comes out to challenge the Usos for the tag team titles
happening.
at a humongous pop. Because I think again, right? Triple H guys that went to AEW, like again, FTR is a great example.
Yeah,
they are prime candidates to go back to WWE. I think
their contract's up in April.
I know.
See,
we
that's
talking
perfect.
About it earlier.
So there you go. They're going to take the break. It's going to be April.
Yep.
Fuck, we might see him at Mania.
I think it's intriguing, right?
Yeah.
And I will extend the invitation, of course, for you to come on our podcast sometime. We'll even let you pick the historic pay-per-view that you would like to cover.
Interesting.
And Chris does all the research, so it's literally I just got to show up.
Yeah.
See, that's what I like. That's what I like to show up.
This is what it's been like for years.
Chris does all the work. I'm the face.
Wait, do I have to
operation.
watch it, or can I just show up?
I mean,
well, you can show up too.
I don't even watch them all.
Oh wait, was it including me?
Yes, it was. Yeah,
you're fine.
I assumed it was, but I am the more polite Canadian than Snaggle.
Yes.
That is untrue, and I have the receipts in DMs to prove it.
Hey, we're not going to be talking about DMs here, pal.
I didn't slide into anyone's DM. I'm just saying that.
Oh God, phenomenal stuff, guys. Ringside Rewind. We could just, this show could keep going, but
Well, you can have us back anytime. I mean, probably not tomorrow because it's past my bedtime.
It's past my bedtime.
But you can have us back anytime.
Maybe we only run Tuesday, Thursday.
Maybe when Saudi buys us and our shows are on in the afternoon.
Yeah, 1 p.m. 1
p.m.
1 p.m. You get out that 1 p.m. Eastern Saturday time slot. Yeah. Can't wait.
It's gonna be great. As soon as I get done coaching modified basketball, I'm gonna go watch the fucking Super Show.
So do you guys interview people like wrestlers? Because like East Coast has a big wrestling scene.
We've never.
We haven't. I've put in a few invitations. I used to do ring announcing for a bunch of the local companies out here.
Kali music.
So companies like NWE, sorry,
NWE.
and Mainstream.
Yep.
Mainstream as well. So I was on shows with guys like Dylan Davis, Thad Hallett, Kirk Obie.
I saw you on a rerun of NWE Elite a few weeks ago. You were announcing a match between Jason Rumble and Forrest Cullen at the Kin Center.
Yeah, exactly. So
I was flipping through the channels and I was like, "Oh, that's Chris."
Yeah, exactly. So I've done that. I was also I booked Mainstream for a booking assistant for Mainstream for one season, which was fun. So a lot of the guys,
they call it the Vince Russo era of that promotion.
Exactly. Oh yeah, no, it was nothing but midgets in garbage cans. This is a
whole other episode.
This is where
people on forklifts.
No,
and tried to get Buff Bagwell's mom booked on the promotion.
There was nobody.
It's not a bad idea.
Named Dick. There was nobody named Dick, but there were some in the locker room.
Ooh, hot take.
Wow.
But yeah, what we do at the end of every show is I'm going to give you guys the mic now. And you can put over anything you want. You can say anything you want. You can bury anyone you want. It doesn't matter to me.
I think I just did.
I did. I will not interrupt. The floor is yours.
Snaggle, you go first.
Ooh. I mean, I feel like you gave me the mic, so I'm going to bury you.
Okay.
I would say, listen, you know what?
What's new?
Thank you for having us on. I appreciate it. Check out Ringside Rewind at our website, ringsiderewind.com, or where you get your podcast apps, where you can watch me absolutely out opinion Chris week after week after week with sound logic. Chris is essentially the Sasha Banks of Ringside Rewind.
Oh, hot take.
You know, I came into it with all this hope, and he's just been average. And last week he really screwed up the finish.
I'm not going to bury Snaggle because
you're going to bury me later?
for a lot of reasons, including which his wife will get mad at me, and she can't.
You just need to get some lime and some bleach. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
I know where every pig farm in New Brunswick is. I'm fine. But again, thank you for having us on. I'll speak for Snaggle on this. Be more than happy to come back anytime you'll have us. And you guys are more than welcome to jump in on one of ours as well. And thank you to the chat and everybody. You can check us out again at ringsiderewind.com, on Twitter at Ringside Rewind. He is at Snaggle J, and I am at CD Lawrence.
Spectacular. All those links went out. Boys, it's been a phenomenal time. In like Snaggle said, we didn't talk AEW. We got all these other stories. Impact, Hard to Kills tomorrow. All sorts of fun stuff. I heard there's Impact Wrestling, Hard to Kill. Yeah,
that's a wrestling. Really?
It is. Yeah.
We don't get it in Canada.
Oh, okay.
Unless you have fight.
Impact is near and dear to the hearts of the people on this channel. You can't be burying Impact over here. We'll be here till 3:00 in the morning if we start.
Yeah, that's where Okada started, right? Impact.
That's where he did part of his excursion as he was the Green Lantern's friend with the little green mask.
He was. As you're right.
Yes. Oh, I've watched some TNA and Impact in my day. Don't worry.
But yeah, door's always open. You guys can come on. We'll come on. It's hard to get me and Vanessa on other shows. We've been on them and been banned from them forever. So,
well, as you can tell, there's not much you can say to get banned on our show.
Yeah,
and
plus we're not after tonight. I expect to be banned from my own show,
and we're not live, so we can edit anything.
Oh yeah,
I don't edit.
Editing. That's a cop out.
As the person who does the editing, I tell you right now, I don't ever edit anything. I know Chris doesn't go through and listen to them because I never edit.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Well, boy,
I just make sure my voice sounds good.
All I do is add the intro music.
Drag it in.
Editing.
Sounds about right.
Drag it in. Cut out the preamble where we talk
That's our
bad
gimmick.
about
We'll
people.
edit it in post.
Yeah.
You want to hear? You want to hear us bury people?
I sure.
We ever do a pay? we ever do a Patreon where the pre-show goes up, neither one of us will be employable.
No, that's sadly, as federal government employees, let's hope those the CSIS agent that monitors our recordings don't ever get a hold of the pre-shows.
Listen, they've been aware of us for years.
We're on a list.
They don't want.
Well, you're on more lists than I am.
I'm probably at the top of every list.
Well, thanks a lot. I mean, we appreciate it. I'll be on a list with you guys anytime.
Anytime.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree. Well, boys, let's all get to bed. We're all old. I'll see you guys around. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks,
peace.
guys.
Good night.
Oh, man. That was great stuff. That was great. And and I remember this, I had this feeling last time Snaggle was on. I think Snaggle was on maybe before you came on, Vanessa, like you came on board and stuff.
He reminds me of the that other dude we had on. Oh fuck, I'm gonna forget it. Comedian. He's a comedian.
Shuli?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Probably the bald head. Yeah.
Well,
but
the attitude.
It's like we don't have a lot of other podcast people come on just because I don't know, it doesn't. I mean, Kyle comes on and goes well, but every time like I had Snaggle on, and the last feeling I had, I was like, man, we could have talked wrestling all night long, and this is the first time I met that Chris dude, and he was awesome. And it
reminds me of a mix of John Candy and the brother from Home Alone.
Oh, the brother. the guy. I know who you're talking about.
Russ? No, what's his name? Russ? No.
The brother? The older brother. Kevin's dad's brother?
No. Kevin's brother.
The older one. Not the one with the snake. Right?
The one with the spider. Yeah.
Oh, him. Spider. Oh, okay.